My name is Taryn Urquhart, and I'm the Arts and Special Events Programmer here at the West Vancouver Memorial Library. And it is my great pleasure to be your host for this very special Foundation Signature Series event with Jill Barber. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge that the library has its home on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Coast Salish people, and in particular recognize the Squamish Nation, Tsleil-Waututh Nation, and Musqueam Nation. We recognize and respect them as nations in this territory, as well as their historic connection to the lands and waters around us since time immemorial. Tonight's concert marks the final event in our Foundation Signature Series, and I hope everyone enjoyed the authors and musicians we brought to our virtual library stage. If you missed any of the events, many of the recordings are still available on our YouTube channel, so check them out. I'd also like to thank everyone who made tonight possible. Thank you to the Library Foundation, and in particular, the generous bequest from the estate of Robert Leslie Welsh, who has, or the estate has allowed us to invite such fabulous musical guests as Misha Bruger-Gossman and Jill Barber tonight. Thank you to our event sponsors and supporters, Governor, British Pacific Properties, Accountants Farmanara and Rezai, Van City, Aperion Properties, and John Jennings of Royal LePage and Sussex. Very shortly, I will be welcoming Jill Barber to our virtual stage from her home in East Vancouver. Jill will be performing some of her favorite songs, taking audience questions and requests a bit later in the program. The wonderful Sarah, off to my right, is monitoring our chat tonight, so don't be shy and join in the conversation at any time. So now, it is my very great pleasure to introduce Jill Barber. As a singer and songwriter, Jill's influences range from folk to pop to jazz. Her music career has taken her to the stages of Massey Hall in Toronto, the Blue Note in Tokyo, and the Vogue Theatre in Vancouver. Following up on her 2018 album Metaphora, which featured the #1 hit song Girls Gotta Do, which I listened to a lot in my car when I was listening to CBC radio, Jill sold 40,000 copies of her breakthrough jazz album Chances in Canada alone. Jill's work has earned her awards such as the SiriusXM Jazz Artist of the Year and the East Coast Music Award for Album of the Year. Her evocative and timeless songs have been featured in the film and TV shows such as Orange is the New Black, The L Word, and Heartland. So please put your hands together and welcome Jill Barber. There she is.
Thank you very much, Taryn.
Welcome.
Welcome to everybody out there viewing from your homes. I am absolutely thrilled to be here, and by here I mean in my living room here in East Vancouver, but I am thrilled to be hosted this evening by the West Vancouver Memorial Library. Tonight it combines two of my favorite things, public libraries and music, and so it's a winning combination. I'm thrilled that you're hosting this wonderful series featuring so many great artists. And so I want to start by just saying thank you. Thank you for the platform and for creating the access to the community, because of course our public libraries are such community hubs that we count on. And so just congratulations, a round of applause to you, Taryn, to your team.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope everyone has a drink with them.
Well, Taryn said she was going to bring a G&T into the library, so I thought, well, okay, I'll get my gin and tonic happening too.
Cheers to you, Jill.
Cheers to you.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Cheers to everyone at home as well. And
yes, before you start, we've been asking a lot of our performers part of this series, how are you finding this new experience of virtual concerts as a musician?
At first, I was terrified. I thought, oh, this is not going to feel good at all. This is not what I want to be doing. I don't want to look at a computer screen. I want to connect with people. That's what I love to do, is connect with people. But you know what? I'll tell you, I have been so happily surprised by how connective these virtual shows can feel. It's a temporary solution. It's not a forever. It's not the rest of our lives that we'll be doing this. But you know what? I have found the online shows to be surprisingly intimate. And actually, a fan of mine put it best. She said, you know, you always dream of being at home in the living room of your favorite singer-songwriter, being serenaded by them. And she's like, that's kind of what this feels like. So every single person has a front row seat to this show. And so I love it. So you can see me, I can't see you, but I really do encourage folks to interact through the various channels. And thank you so much to Sarah for monitoring that. And she'll be getting the messages to me. So if you have song requests you'd like to hear, send them through. They'll get to me. If you have any stories about any songs that mean anything special to you, please share them, and I can share them with the audience. So yeah, I'm you know what, I'm rolling with it the way everyone's rolling with it, and the best part is I get to play music still.
Well, thank you so much for rolling with it with us tonight. So I'm going to turn it over to you for 3 or 4 songs, and I'll be back with a lightning round of questions.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Taryn. I'm going to start with a song. Little story.
He plays piano in a jazz band, and I love him for the man that he could be. Asked him, if I let you, would you play me? Then delighted as he tickled every key, and he could feel the ivory skin beneath his fingertips, and I would watch the notes fall one by one from his lips, and he could snap his fingers to the beat of my heart, but he couldn't feel the heat. And I want to be like lovers in an old romantic song, where the music fades away before the love it can go wrong. But I am just a dreamer, wearing sensible shoes, and I still dream color, even though I sing the blues. Empty is playing scales up and down me as we sing our tales of hope in perfect harmony. I measure out our love by the length of the song, but it disappears somewhere when the music is gone. 'Cause every song ever written has a final note,
Thank you for watching.
and I sign my name below every letter that I wrote. And lovers who part give a final kiss. Well, now I know it's not the player, but the music that I miss. Oh,
song is called Measures and Scales. The next song I think I'm going to play for you is one that I wrote a number of years ago. In fact, I was a student at the time. I attended Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario, and studied philosophy. And that was really the time when I was in university that I really realized that music was my true passion, and my true pursuit of happiness would be through music. And I specifically remember I was supposed to be writing some kind of paper when I wrote this song. And the reason I thought I would play it this evening is it's a song about my state of mind. And in these strange, challenging pandemic times, my state of mind changes from day to day and sometimes hour to hour. And if you're anything like me, you're perhaps spending your days trying to remember to be grateful for all that you have, and trying to find the silver linings. That's what I do every day in this pandemic, because there are many, and it is a challenge. It's a major challenge for so many different people for so many different reasons. I myself, my family, we're all healthy, but the music industry has just changed overnight, and all of our lives have changed, haven't they? Not forever, maybe, but for now. And so I thought I would sing this song that I wrote when I was in kind of a low moment. It starts with this line. You can't rely on time to change the way you feel, 'cause time, it often loses track of who it's gotta heal. And you can read my palm and tell me that my future looks strong, and I will play along. Better that than to wait to prove you wrong. 'Cause it's another overcast day, like it's been for a week. And I would blame feeling down on the weather if I had no other reason to be. But people let you down when you least expect them to. And hearts, they move around so fast in love, it somehow gets renewed. And my state of mind is hiding in the shadow you left behind. And this song is playing in my head as you walk away in perfect time. And you and I are just saving hope in pockets and up sleeves for rainy days when you need it the most. For rainy days like these. And my state of mind is hiding in the shadow you left behind. And this song is playing in my head as you walk away in perfect time. But you can't rely on time to change
she walk away in perfect time. You know, the days, they kind of flow one into the other in these COVID times. But you realize the time has passed when you know your bangs need a trim desperately. My kids' hair has grown wild. I have a 4-year-old daughter and a 7-year-old son. He just turned 7, had a COVID birthday party. I just want to give a little shout out to all the parents of young children out there. These are intense times and stressful times and anxious times. And while I'm at it, might I just give a shout out to our hero, our British Columbian hero, Dr. Bonnie Henry, who is always the voice, she has almost like a maternal voice. I feel like she's like the mother of the province that's, as I'm trying to calm my children, she's trying to calm all of us, and she's doing such a wonderful job. This is a very hard job that she's doing. And let's hear it for the scientists and Dr. Bonnie Henry and all the folks that are working so hard to get us back on track and to keep us safe, which is the most important thing. So cheers. Now, it's especially significant to me to be teaming up with the West Van Library this evening because my husband, Grant Lawrence, my husband of 10 years, we also celebrated our 10th wedding anniversary, COVID style, back in May. My husband, Grant, grew up in West Vancouver in Dunderave, and West Van Memorial Library was his home library as a child growing up. And again, if you're anything like me, your home library plays a really prominent role in your childhood memories. It does for me. My branch was the Port Credit branch in Mississauga, Ontario, where I grew up. But for Grant, it was the West Van Memorial Library, and every time he walks in and sees the statues, it's like coming home. I pulled this out off our shelf because this is a Tintin. My 7-year-old is into reading Tintin, and when I was looking at this, taking a close look at this, I noticed it's a West Vancouver Memorial Library book that I don't know, maybe didn't get returned, and it's probably was borrowed about 40 years ago. My husband Grant has actually grown up to become an author and a broadcaster, so never underestimate the importance of the time spent in a library with children, because the love of words and stories can stay with you your entire life. So I think he did a reading at the West Van Library, and I think they actually forgave him his overdue fees, which was a lovely gesture. So it's kind of our family, a special library for our family. And let me also give a shout out to my mother-in-law, Jean Lawrence, and my father-in-law, Garth Lawrence, who are looking after my children this evening in West Van, having a pizza and movie night, so that mom can play a show at home in our living room. And I'm gonna sing a song now that I wrote right here in this living room. It was about 7 years ago that my husband Grant and I started trying to find a house to call a home and put down some roots. So we moved from a condo in the west end of Vancouver, and we found this little bungalow in East Vancouver. And I remember when I first walked through the doors with the real estate agent, I looked at the window, which is the window that's lighting me right now. It's right in front of me. You can't see it, but it's shedding light on my face. And I looked at this big picture window and I said, you know what? If this house ever becomes our home, I'm going to write a song called Big Picture Window, because I love this idea of
settling down in a home and being able to look out at the world moving past. Because as a touring, traveling musician, I have spent a lot of time on the road over the last 18 years being a professional musician, and I've loved it. And it's part of who I am. For a long time, it was a conflict for me. Do I do the career and move around the country and travel and keep playing shows, or do I, settle down a little bit with make a family, have these 2 little kids at home? And so it's been a bit of a struggle and a little conflict in my mind. And I realized that it was this little family and this little home that allowed me to finally put down roots and take a little rest. And we've certainly been watching the world go by our picture window the last 6 months. So I thought this would be a good song to play. So it's called Big Picture Window.
5 years ago, I was your bride. We bought a little house to live inside. 4 walls around us and a roof in the sky, and a big picture window where you can watch the world go by. And though my spirit is bound to roam, it's settled right down with you in this home. And now I'm longing each time I fly for that big picture window where you can watch the world go by. And 2 years ago, one early morning, into this house a baby was born. We rocked him to sleep in a sweet lullaby. At the big picture window where you can watch the world go by. And there'll come a day our child is grown, with the spirit that's bound to roam. To call him back, his mama will cry. At the big picture window where you can watch the world go by.
Big Picture Window. Well, back in the fall, I recorded a brand new album, and it's a French album. It's my second French album. I put one out a number of years ago called Chanson, which was a number of French covers that I loved. And but this one was actually, I decided I wanted to write an album of original French songs. And so I recorded it in the fall. As I said, it's an album called Entre Nous, and it was due to be released in June. And myself and my team, we had the conversation: do we put new music out in a pandemic? I don't know. Is that I can't tour it the way I normally would to support the album, but we decided, yep, you know what? The world needs music more than ever. And so we decided to go ahead, and so the album came out in June. It's called Entre Nous, and it's 10 original French songs, but I had to sneak this one cover on because I'm such a huge Leonard Cohen fan, and I thought for my fans that maybe don't speak French, it might be fun to hear a very familiar Leonard Cohen song sung en français. So I chose to record this version. This is one you may recognize if you are familiar with Leonard Cohen's music, and it was a translation that was carried out in the 1970s by Graham Allwright and kind of made famous by the great chanteuse Françoise Hardy. And so I recorded this song, and I would love to perform Suzanne for you right now en français. Merci beaucoup.
Suzanne, t'emmène écouter les sirènes. Elle te prend par la main pour passer une nuit sans fin. Tu sais qu'elle est à moitié folle, c'est pourquoi tu veux rester sur un plateau d'argent. Elle te sert du thé au jasmin, et quand tu voudrais lui dire tu n'as pas d'amour pour elle, elle t'appelle dans ses ongles et laisse la mer répondre que depuis toujours tu l'aimes. Tu veux rester à ses côtés, maintenant tu n'as plus peur de voyager, les yeux fermés, une flamme brûle dans ton cœur. Il était une pêcheur venu sur la terre, il a vieilli très longtemps du haut d'une tour solitaire. Quand il a compris que seuls des hommes perdus la voie, il a dit qu'on voguerait jusqu'à ce que les vagues nous libèrent. Mais lui-même fut brisé bien avant que le ciel s'ouvre, délassé et presque non, il a coulé sur votre sagesse comme une pierre. Tu veux rester à ses côtés, maintenant tu n'as plus peur de voyager, les yeux fermés, une flamme brûle dans ton cœur. Suzanne, t'emmène écouter les sirènes. Elle te prend par la main pour passer une nuit sans fin. Tu sais qu'elle est à moitié folle, c'est pourquoi tu veux rester sur un plateau d'argent. Elle te sert du thé au jasmin, et quand tu voudrais lui dire tu n'as pas d'amour pour elle, elle t'appelle dans ses ongles et laisse la mer répondre que toujours, toujours tu l'aimes. Tu veux rester à ses côtés, maintenant tu n'as plus peur de voyager, les yeux fermés, une douceur étrange dans ton cœur. Merci beaucoup.
Yep. Hi, Taryn.
Hello.
There we are.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. Thank you for that last one. That was a real favorite of mine, and I'm sure it was a lot of others people as well. I have a few lightning round questions just to break up the fact that you are sitting alone in your living room. So you have a little personal contact.
Thank you, Taryn.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What is your favorite animal?
Tiger.
Ooh, tiger. Your favorite takeout food?
Thai. That's weird.
Now I know you have a fabulous band that usually travels with you. Mm-hmm. Where is the strangest or most interesting place you've ever performed with them?
Well, it was really interesting to visit Tokyo, to play a show at the Blue Note in Tokyo. That was a fascinating experience. Everybody clapped in time, and it was such a different experience. It was wonderful. I miss the opportunity to travel to far-flung new places.
Yes. I know you have collaborated with your brother in the past. This is a collaboration question. If you could collaborate with anyone alive or dead, who would it be?
Okay, I will state this publicly. I have before. Michael Bublé. If anyone knows Michael Bublé, I want to do a duet with Bublé. Barber and Bublé. I mean, right?
In fact, he lives in West Van, I hear.
I mean, I know. Yes. I think he may have moved to Burnaby. But I think I kind of even know where he was living in West Vancouver. Not that I've tried to climb his fence and get in there, but Ernie.
Not at all. I did see him in Fresh Street one day, maybe 2 months ago, looking quite incognito in his dark glass.
Yeah.
I love that idea. I'm behind it 100%.
Yeah. Thank you.
If you were stranded on a desert island, what album would you have to have with you?
Joni Mitchell, Blue.
Good one. Yeah. If you weren't a singer-songwriter and an extraordinary mother of two, what profession would you have pursued?
I think I would be a chimney sweep.
Chimney sweep, like, would there be dancing?
Well, just because it's the most random. I can't. It's so hard for me to imagine doing anything other than music. That I think it would be. I would just have. That's the only other thing I could. I can't even imagine. I can't. Okay, I wouldn't. Would I wear the? I don't know. Would I wear a different outfit? I don't know. The answer is there's nothing other than music, but. I guess I think of chim chimney, chim chimney, chim chim chiroo. And I've always kind of thought, oh, what a romantic job. It's probably not actually.
Well, now I have a vision of you in sparkles dancing across the London skyline. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Because, of course, I work in a library, I have to ask you, what has been your favorite read this summer?
Okay, I am so happy to mention this book and promote this book because it's a local British Columbia author, Michael Christie.
Oh.
Greenwood.
Yes.
Fabulous book. Loved it. I'm doing this interesting, I read Greenwood by Michael Christie, and now I'm reading The Innocents by Michael Crummy. So I'm reading the Michaels of the two Canadian coasts. But Michael Christie's Greenwood is a fabulous novel, rich storytelling over the course of 4 generations. A super interesting book to read in these times because it takes place in the future, in a future time where the world has unfortunately been ravaged by environmental peril. It's kind of a cautionary tale, but then it goes way back to way back at least 100 years to previous generations to tell the whole story. It's beautifully written. Highly recommend the book Greenwood. by
Okay,
Michael Christie.
you are now hired on staff to give a book recommendation.
I would be under Jill's favorites. Jill's picks. Yeah.
In fact, it's one of my favorites from this year, and I think we have
You read it too.
Yes, we have. I think it's a staff pick at the library, so check it out, Greenwood. I'd love to have him as a speaker. We'll see if we can work on that.
Yes.
Final question. As you mentioned before, and I would agree with you, the last 5 months have been strange and revealing and positive and negative for both my family and my bubble of people. Do you have one word or one sentence that sums up your experience? I think mine would be kindness.
Again, a good Bonnie Henry directive. One word. I mean, adapt, I think, maybe is the word for me. It's just in so many ways we've had to adapt. And I kind of like that word because it's sort of, endure crossed my mind. But then I was like, no. We're adapting. We're adapting to the world that we're in right now, and we're changing, we're evolving, and we're making it work. We all have to lead our lives. We need to do it safely, respectfully as a community, and we're adapting. I think I'm quite proud of our society for adapting to the. I don't want to say the new normal, but for the way things are for right now to get us through this time, and so adapt.
Yeah. Well,
and look at us now. Look how well we're drinking our gin and tonic. I mean, and we're finding the joy in things. Yeah.
Mine is empty. But
time to fill it up. So maybe it's time for me to play another song.
Yes, please do. That would be lovely.
Okay, with pleasure. So adapting, yes. I ordinarily perform with a band, sometimes a 3 or 4 piece band. One silver lining of this pandemic has been that it's really forced my hand as a musician, as a songwriter, to pick up my guitar again. I can't rely on my band. I haven't actually played that many solo shows in the last number of years. So I've had to adapt, pick up my guitar and be empowered to perform solo. And the nice thing about that is that I can play songs for you in the way in which they were written, because we go into studio, we dress them up. As Taryn mentioned, I've kind of crossed a lot of different genres. I like to think of myself as a non-genre conforming artist. I've done folk, I've done jazz, pop. But at the end of the day, I'm a singer-songwriter, and I write most of my songs just me and this acoustic guitar. So one of my best known songs is a song called Chances. It's kind of a jazzy, kind of throwbacky, nostalgic, retro-sounding song with plucked strings and bass and drums and piano. Well, you're going to hear it now just the way that I wrote it on my acoustic guitar. It's a love song. It's called Chances. Chances, what are the chances? The chances that I find you stealing glances across a crowded room and taking a chance or two. Funny way of knowing what to do. Oh, the chances. What are the chances? The chances that I find you. Oh,
the circumstances that brought me to you? Are they just chances and nothing more? Love, it has a funny way of showing what is true. Oh, but the chances, what are the chances? The chances that I'd find you. Love, it has a funny way of showing what is true. Oh, but the chances, what are the chances? The chances that I'd find you. That I'd find you. That I'd find you. Thank you very much. Okay, ooh, we have a couple of requests. Thank you very much for your requests, folks. I'd be happy to fulfill a couple of your requests. Somebody is requesting the song Legacy. Well, be happy to play that song. As I mentioned, I grew up in Mississauga, Ontario, and I went to school at Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario. And after that, I moved out to the East Coast, to Halifax, Nova Scotia, which is actually really where I got my career in music started. And it's such an incredible musical community in Halifax. I loved it. I loved living there. And I remember I was in my early 20s and I was playing all the open mic nights and all the coffee houses and all the kind of crappy opening slots of the bar shows. Just me and my acoustic guitar, just like what you're seeing now. And I really, really, really wanted to do music. It was my passion. But I didn't know if I could actually make it work. And then somebody gave me an opportunity. Someone who saw me at one of those open mic nights contacted me and said, we would like you to open a show at the local theater, which is a theater called the Rebecca Cohn Auditorium. And there was an artist coming in from out of town. Her name is Sarah Sleen, and she's since become a friend. And she was doing a show. She was on tour doing a show with her band, and they needed a solo acoustic opener. And so somebody asked me if I would do it. And I feel like that was the moment that I felt like this could be it. Like, this is a real show in a real theater under a real spotlight. And I was so thrilled by the opportunity that I decided to write a song to mark the occasion. And I imagined Rebecca, the woman who the theater was named after. I imagined her as a ghost that haunted the theater, because of course Rebecca Cohn was a patron of the arts. And I thought I wanted to write a song to thank her
And so I imagined her as this ghost that haunted the theater, and I performed this song that night all those years ago. This is like going back to probably 2004, maybe, a long time ago now. And the thing about writing a song about a theater is they will invite you back to play it again. So I played this song in about 2004, solo acoustic, called Legacy, and then I think the next year they invited me back to the theater to perform this song with the entire Symphony Nova Scotia backing me up. So what do I want to say? What's the moral of this story? I think the moral is never underestimate what an opportunity that you can give someone else can mean to them in their life, because I think it was that moment, that opportunity, that made me think I can actually do this as a career. And secondly, let's support the arts. Music, books, films, these are the things that are getting us through this time. And artists need our support right now. And your legacy and their legacy can be that we kept music and art alive during this time, because what are we living for if not these beautiful things about life? So I would be delighted to play the song Legacy. Thank you for that request, and it goes like this. It's for Rebecca and for all patrons of the arts.
Does it get lonely in the day, all by yourself in this big old place? Do you ever come out and play, scream out loud, or walk the stage? And maybe you are looking down tonight. Maybe you can see, burning like an old spotlight, shining down on me. Oh, it must be great to have this enormous estate. Rebecca, do you think it's fate that brought me here onto your stage? And you always played it by heart, like a patron saint, a patron of the arts. Was it ever hard to justify it to someone else, to yourself? Rebecca, I know you understand why I write these songs. Rebecca, I overheard the plan, but I don't know what happens when you're gone. Whether I write 3 chords or
much for that request. I love playing that song. So no spotlight tonight in my living room, but except this descending sun. And but yeah, thank you for that. I wonder if I should play the next request, Taryn, or do you want to chat? What do you think?
It's up to you. What do you? I have a couple of questions that the audience sent in prior to your concert, but what do you feel like?
Let's chat, and then I will. There's a request for my song called "Ashes to Ashes," and I will get to that. So if you stick around, I can play that after our little chat. Does that sound like a plan?
That sounds great. Okay. Now, many of your fans are familiar with the fact that you record both in English and French, and I want to hear a bit more about your most recent project, which I think you launched 2 months ago.
Yes.
An all French album, Entre, nous, which we will be giving away later this evening.
Wonderful.
To 2 lucky winners. We'll give that draw a chance. But did you grow up speaking French, or did you come to it later in life?
I'm an Anglophone, born an Anglophone to Anglophone parents, but I'm a Francophile. I love the French language. Now, I didn't always love the French language, and I happen to know my parents are watching. So my parents, who are wonderful people, believed in a well-rounded education, and they actually enrolled me in French immersion when I was a girl. But I didn't like it. I wanted to read and write in English. That was my language, and I had a hard time with French as a girl, and so I begged them to let me quit French immersion. Now, like most things, my parents were right. I should have stuck with it. I grew up leaving my French behind, and then skip ahead to, I think it was 2010. I was performing for the first time ever at the Montreal Jazz Festival. It was my debut at the Montreal Jazz Festival. And I really wanted to address the audience in French, and I was just like, I couldn't. I feel like I'd forgotten everything that I'd learned when I was a girl, and I felt so, I had no confidence. And a friend of mine suggested that maybe instead of trying to speak in French, that I could have one of my songs translated into French, and I could sing in French to the audience. And so I did that. I had a song translated, and then that night I worked up the courage. I opened my mouth and I sang my song en français. And you know what? The audience that night in Montreal, they rose up onto their feet in a standing ovation. They were so encouraging of my efforts, even though I'm sure I botched it, but it was the effort of trying to speak in French that they applauded and encouraged me to continue. And so I decided as an adult to improve my French language skills. I actually went to a French school for adults, an international French school in France, in the south of France. Sounds terrible, I know. And I studied for a month, and then I went back the next year. I studied for another month, and my teacher, who was very cruel, who required that we speak only French. You had to actually pay a fee if you spoke a word of English all day long. She said, en français, she said, you're a musician. Why don't you listen to only French music when you go home in the evenings? And so that's when I discovered so much incredible French music. I fell in love with it. And then I decided when I came home that I would kind of like as challenge for myself, as homework, I would record an album of French covers, of interpretations of the songs that I had fallen in love with in the south of France. And so that was my 14 or something album, chanson it was called, which translates just to songs. And so with this latest album, Entre, nous, I just wanted to take it a step further. As a songwriter, I wanted to try to express myself en français. And it's such a pleasure for me to sing in French. I just love the language. It's so poetic and sensual and romantic. And I feel kind of almost like I have another persona when I sing en français. And so it's kind of it's just a lot of fun for me, and I'm really proud of this most recent record. And thank you for mentioning it. I encourage folks to listen to it. It's even if you don't speak French, music is the universal language, and I think and especially in these times when we cannot travel, you could simply put on my French record, and you'll feel like you're in Quebec City or Montreal or Paris for the night. You can cook to it and drink French wine to it, and hopefully it will transport you somewhere beautiful.
Yes, well, and we also have a copy of it in our library collection. Thought I'd just sneak that in there.
Thank you so much. You can borrow it. Wonderful.
You mentioned your mom and dad. I am curious. I know your brother is a talented singer-songwriter.
Yes, Massey Barber.
Yes, you've collaborated with him. I'm trying to imagine what the Barber household was like when you were little. Are your parents musical? Was there music pumping through the house?
No. Well, my parents are not musical, not at all. Sorry, mom and dad, but no. My father is a scientist. My mother raised us and also went back and got her teaching degree when we were old enough, and at school she went and got her degree, so she's a teacher by training. My mom actually is also, this is a library show, my mom is the greatest, most well-read person of anyone I know. She's a great lover of books and libraries, and has been in a book club for years, and she's just the best person to recommend books. So she's a lover of stories and words. And my dad has actually come out of retirement. He was a professor for many years at the University of Toronto, an immunology professor, and since COVID has come out of retirement and is doing vaccine research. I'm so proud of him. So they're brilliant, smart, creative people, but not musical. What was our house like? I'm going to give you an example of what our house was like.
Excellent.
We would listen to classical music on Sunday nights. We had the same meal every Sunday night. We had a roast chicken dinner. We would listen to the same classical record, and we would play a game called the dictionary game, where my dad would get out the dictionary and name a word, and we would try to guess its meaning. So nerdy. So nerdy. That's an example of what it was like to grow up in my house. So it was not like a rock and roll household, not by any stretch, but my lovely parents encouraged my brother and I in all of our passions and pursuits. My brother, I don't exactly know, he decided he wanted to try to write songs. He asked for a guitar for Christmas. My parents delivered, he got a guitar for Christmas. I grew up kind of looking up, really worshiping my older brother and following in his footsteps in so many ways. So when he started playing guitar and writing songs, I wanted to start playing guitar and write songs, and he really encouraged me. And here we are, both professional musicians. For better or for worse, here we are. Now we're a musical family with the pair of us. Yeah.
That's fascinating. And then your husband also has musical backgrounds. Have you seen it in your kids? Is it coming out at all?
Well, I discourage it wherever I can. I'm just kidding. You know what? They love music, like all kids love music. But they're not in music lessons. I should mention that I was never I'm not a trained musician. Neither is my brother. Neither of us took music lessons. So I can't even read music. I do not read music. But I write songs, I express myself through music. And so I think we just encourage our children to express themselves in any way they like. And if music happens to be, a path they want to follow, then we can help lead them down that path. But neither of them have shown a particular, no, not necessarily. In fact, I asked the kids, are you going to watch my show tonight at family movie night? And my son said, too much talking and singing. So they want a little more action, I think.
Oh, fair enough. Before we ask for your final kind of take us out with this song, we have a question from the chat from Constance. She says she saw you perform with Stuart McLean on the Vinyl Cafe, and I miss that show so much. What was your experience working with him and was it live radio or was it recorded? But CBC radio, yeah.
I have so much love for Stuart McLean, and we lost a Canadian legend way too early. What a guy. I learned so much. I toured with him a couple of times, and both tours were long tours right across the country on a bus together, myself and Stuart, his crew. I had such a good experience touring with the Vinyl Cafe, and I mean, I think I've got a couple of memories of Stuart McLean. The first time I ever spoke to him was on the phone. I had heard him on the radio for years, heard his stories just like everyone else, and he called me on the phone to sort of personally invite me to come on tour with him. And I remember he swore, like in the first, I don't know if he dropped the phone, but I could sort of hear him like swearing a blues streak, and I was just like, this is Stuart McLean? But he just surprised me. He was very much the Stuart that you hear on the radio, except he swears. I don't know, or he's just more of a real person. I guess once I shed the idea of who he was, I got to know who he actually was, and he was such a lovely person, such a supporter of music, and he loved stories. He loved telling stories. He loved hearing stories. He was very curious about other people, and he. A little West Vancouver connection. When I was engaged to Grant, I was on tour with Stuart, and we were actually on tour in Victoria, and I was wedding dress shopping as we were going on the road, and I popped into a bridal store in Victoria, and I found this dress that I thought would be great, and I took a bunch of pictures. I didn't actually bring Stuart into the store, but I took a bunch of pictures, and I went back and I showed the pictures on the bus, and he like approved he was like, it's beautiful, you should get it. So he was involved in my wedding dress choice. I bought that wedding dress, and then skip ahead a few months. Grant and I were married on May 15th. 2010, and I invited Stuart McLean to come, and I think he was kind of he wasn't sure what his schedule was going to look like, but I think maybe a week or two before the wedding, I got a really nice note from him saying, I'm going to be there. So Stuart came. He flew out here from Toronto, where he lives, and Grant and I got married at St. Francis in the Woods, a little church in West Vancouver. And I remember Stuart up in the balcony as I was walking down the aisle. Stuart was there kind of like a father figure or something. He was up there looking down, smiling down on the nuptials. So it was really cool that Stuart McLean was at our wedding. I feel very honored that he was part of that day. So there's a little Stuart McLean memory for you.
Nice, thank you. Well, before we let you sing us out with however many songs you feel that you need to express, let's do a quick prize draw. Could you pick? This is for anyone who registered on our website for reminders. We had over 80 people registered. You didn't have to. They can win a Jill Barber CD of their choice. Could you pick two numbers between 1 and 81?
Sure. Okay, I'm gonna pick 80, which is the age of my father-in-law. Well, I hope it's okay that I'm revealing that, but he's celebrated his 80th birthday this year in 2020, a COVID birthday. So I'll pick 80.
Great. The winner is Claire R. I won't say her last name, but Claire, I will be contacting you tomorrow. And another.
Well, while we're on birthdays, maybe I'll pick the other number as number 40, which is the age that I turned in 2020 in February, before the world changed. My last big blowout party with all of my friends was my 40th birthday before COVID really descended upon us. So I'm so happy that I got to celebrate with my friends. So we'll do 40.
Well,
40 and 80. How about?
Happy belated birthday, Linda N. I will be contacting you, so congratulations to both of you. Yoo-hoo. So,
wonderful.
Take it away, Jill.
Well, somebody requested this song, Ashes to Ashes, and it's a song that I wrote when I lost somebody that I love very much. It's a song about, it's really a love song, but it's a song about losing someone and wondering and grieving and wondering where that love goes when that person is no longer around to bestow it upon. And so in light of our conversation about Stuart McLean, and because it was a special request from someone, I'd be happy to play this song, Ashes to Ashes, a little introspective song about life and death. Our heads are hanging low, and our hearts at half-mast. Ever since the day with it when it passed, ashes to ashes, and dust to dust. We let go because we must. And where does it take you when it goes? No one really knows. It's anybody's guess. Some folks say it's where the wind blows and where the sea flows and the sun sets. But here we go, on with the living, and try to match the love we give with the love that we've been given. Ashes to ashes, and dust to dust. We let go because we must. And days pass and nights continue to fall. Time moves ahead with it like nothing at all. But at some turn, we reach the final page. Whether we die too young or of old age, ashes to ashes, and dust to dust. Ooh, ooh. We let go because we must. I remembered another story I wanted to tell before we close the evening, and it's because I was thinking of I was chatting with Tara and thinking of all my West Vancouver stories, and I thought, well, one of my best stories ever was when I met a famous West Vancouverite. And so I think this was 6 summers ago, because I was flying from Toronto to Quebec City to play a Festival d'été, which is a big music festival in Quebec City. And my son was just an infant. He was just less than a year old, and both of my children I traveled with. I took them on tour when they were both young enough to be strapped to my body and to come with me. And so I was on tour with my son Joshua, and I was boarding a flight from Toronto to Quebec City. And as was so often the case, I was nursing him because I would always want him to sleep on the flight. You know, that was the easiest. Carrier. These are the sorts of power moves you have to do when you're a touring musician, mama. So he was in my carrier, I was nursing him, and I kind of sensed there was someone behind me, and suddenly a man's voice said something like, "That is so beautiful." And so I was just about to turn around and kind of be like, "Back off, creep," when I looked around and I saw, oh, I know who that is. That's Bryan Adams. Show in the Plains of Abraham in Quebec City, headlining the whole festival. So we were on the same flight together. And anyway, he said some lovely words about, we were just chatting. I said, "Oh, hey, Bryan, I'm Jill, and I'm a musician. I'm a touring musician. I'm actually on my way to play Festival d'été as well, a slightly smaller stage." Anyway, we both boarded the flight. And he was in the first row. I was a few rows back. I was sitting next to my touring nanny. And we were both kind of giddy because we just met Bryan Adams. And anyway, we buckled up. The flight took off. And then the seatbelt sign went off. And we saw Bryan Adams get up out of his seat. And he kind of came back and he said something along the lines of like, "Oh, I was enjoying our chat. Like, we should keep chatting." And so he said to my tour nanny, he's like, "Would you mind switching seats with me?" And I just kind of looked at her and she looked at me and I was like, "Okay," So she got up and she switched seats. And so she went to the front row and Bryan Adams sat down next to me and we started chat. We had a lovely chat. And he what he wanted to talk about most is he wanted to talk about his kids that he was missing at home. And we talked about being parents and traveling musicians. And we talked about the new music we were creating. And then he said, "Yeah, I've just recorded this new album." And I said, "Oh yeah, cool." And he said, "Do you want to hear it?" And I was kind of like, okay. But I didn't have headphones. And he said, "Oh, it's not a problem, not a problem." Here, he went and got his computer. He came back and he handed me his earbuds. Which I mean, again, in COVID times, it seems crazy that I would borrow anyone's earbuds, but they were Bryan Adams' earbuds. I put them in my ears and he started playing me his new music. And I was sitting there. By this time, my son had fallen asleep on me. And it was just such a surreal experience listening to Bryan Adams' new music. And you'd think he would be doing other things or whatever. But no, I was sitting there listening to his new music and he was next to me, watching my face for a reaction. And so I was kind of trying to give him positive feedback, give him a reaction. And I just it struck me in that moment that, it doesn't matter how big a star you are. You really want to hear positive feedback. We all have egos and we all want to hear, I don't know, we all want to, I guess, get, like, we all need some kind of positive feedback. So I gave him my positive feedback, and I wasn't going to just do it one way. So I was like, okay, I'm going to play you some of my music too. So I put on some of my music, and he jammed my music on the flight. And we had a really good chat. At one point, you may know Bryan Adams is also a photographer. He photographed Princess Diana, a bunch of other celebrities. And at one point he said, hey, give me your iPhone. And so I did, and because then he started doing this kind of like impromptu photo shoot of me and my sleeping child on the flight. And so that was the picture you saw, and maybe Guillermo, you can... pulled up in his car and stepped out and leaned against his like limo or whatever it was, and listened to a few of my songs that night. And he got back in and he gave me backstage passes to his show. So he saw me play for, a few hundred people. And then later that night I got to see him play for literally just thousands and thousands of people, enjoying the music of Bryan Adams that night. So he's a famous West Vancouverite, and it was my most memorable flight of all time. He was a really nice guy, and he was so open and shared his music with me, and I shared my music with him, and it was really cool. I'll probably never meet him again, but I did actually send a note through his manager to follow up and say, like, it was really cool to meet you that day, and he hasn't written me back. Still waiting for that response. That's okay. I got a good story out of it. So thank you very much to everyone who tuned in this evening, this Friday evening in August. Taryn, I've got one more song. Will you be saying a few words at the end of the show, or do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share now?
No, just thank you so much. Yes, excellent story about Bryan. Thank you. I don't think, has Bryan ever come into, if anyone's out there and knows if Bryan Adams has ever come into the library. I know we've seen Sarah McLachlan and Bublé, but I don't know if Bryan's come in lately. But
let's get him in that library. I mean, what's Bryan doing? He's probably at home in his, I don't know, castle in the UK. He might do the next signature series. You know what? Ask and you shall receive. I'll put in a good word for you. Okay.
I'll take Bryan or Bublé, whichever one you can get for us. But only if you are performing with them. Because
Bryan Bublé Barber will be the next signature series trio. We'll make it happen, right, Taryn?
Yeah, we can make a really good poster out of that. Thank you. Thank you for that. Yes, please sing us out, and then I'll say my final goodbyes to you at the end. And great. Thank you.
Sounds good. Well, this has been a pleasure, folks. I know you're out there, and keep on keeping on. In the words of Dr. Bonnie Henry, be calm, be kind, and stay healthy. And let's take care of one another the way our library takes care of us. And even through these times, we are a community, and that's clear more now than ever before. So let's be generous and with one another. And I thank you very much for sharing your evening tonight with me. I'll leave you with this song. It's called Oh My My.
I went to the doctor, knocked at her door, and she said, girl, what can I do you for? And I said, doctor, for a start, the man I love is gone and broke my heart. And she checked my pulse, I had a fever too. And she said, girl, there's nothing I can do. You are lovesick and there ain't no cure. I fear the devil's knocking at your door. And she sent me home bed. She gave me pills to help me rest my head, but it won't do, 'cause all I want, all I need is darling you. And I said, please don't let me go. 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 But you wouldn't have it, or any of that. You took my love, but you couldn't give it back. You let me go. You walked away. You broke my heart in every way. You left me crying. You left me blue. You left me pining over you. And I said, please don't let me go. 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 She said, your heart will never be the same. She said, you may never love again. And I said, doctor, the love I had to start, I gave it to the man who done broke my heart. He broke my heart. He broke my heart. He broke my heart. He broke my heart. Broke my heart. Broke my heart. Broke my heart. Oh my, 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 oh my. He broke my heart. 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 Broke my heart. He broke my heart. Oh my, oh my, oh my, oh my, oh my, oh Thank you very much, Taryn. Thank you very much, West Vancouver Memorial Library. Thank you to all the viewers out there and to all the sponsors of this event. What a fine way to spend a Friday evening with you.
Thank you so much, Jill. Thank you. My heart is full. That was excellent, excellent music. And I hope everyone enjoyed it as much as I did. I wanted to thank again the West Vancouver Memorial Library Foundation and the estate of Robert Leslie Welsh, and to our sponsors and supporters. We are always interested in hearing from you and your thoughts on our events, so don't hesitate to reach us by email or in the video description below. Have an excellent rest of your evening, and we hope to see you again soon at the library. Bye, everyone.